So, Christina, tell me a tale, spin me a yarn, a road story. What's your favorite tour memory with the Armoires?
Oh gosh, I think a lot of them are with touring with the Swedes from Indeed. Wonderful band, oh my God, and wonderful people. A lot of my memories have to do with driving. Stephen in the UK driving a stick shift on the wrong side with the wrong arm.
A double clutch.
A double clutch.
Yeah.
When we got stuck in reverse.
Yeah.
Didn't know how to get out.
Yes.
And we had to ask for help. That was funny. In the van with the Swedes touring California, whenever they broke out into Swedish, they would stop and say, "Oh, by the way, we're talking about beer." So I have no idea what they're talking about, but I had to believe that they were talking about beer. That was fun. So a lot of it has to do with driving, but also the people that we stayed with, the generous, wonderful hosts in the Airbnbs. Kevin Perry's father, Norman, who played bass for us in the UK. Norman and Linda were just the best. They took us everywhere. They fed us. They let us stay there. The host in the Airbnb in Liverpool that made us that wonderful vegan pasta that was still on the stove, warm at 2 a.m. when we got home. Just the generosity, the camaraderie, the laughter, the joy, and the driving. That's what I remember.
Driving, yes, indeed.
Yes. Talk. John, do you have a favorite tour story?
Well, I wasn't technically in the band at the time, but when we went up and did the tour of California, went up north and played at the record store in Fresno, where I got my first Beatles Butcher cover, by the way. That was a cool story. How I just happened to see it in the bedroom where I was laying on the floor in the guy's house. The guy owned the record store. Bob, thank you, Bob, owned the record store, and I saw that Butcher cover, and I said, "Bob, how much?" And I bought that bitch from Bob and mailed that to me. But the cool thing is that going on that tour was really something I've never done before as a musician, so it was just kind of cool. And then being with you guys and the folks from Indeed, just super amazing people. And it's neat to me how I can hear a lot of the lyrics on Octoberland, and there's little nuggets from the tour.
Right.
You know, melon salsa on fire. Holy crap! Do I remember that melon salsa?
It was so good, though.
I don't remember the name of the restaurant, but I remember.
We just drove past it on our trip to see Blake Jones in Fresno.
I'm glad you drove past and to get me melon salsa to go, because that shit
No,
was,
we're gonna go back.
Boy, oh.
It's called Taquerias Mariscos or something like that.
That is exactly what it's called. I wrote it down.
Wow.
It's
Well,
right
anyway.
off the 99, right at the right at the, like if you go over the grapevine. Right at
I heard it through the grapevine.
We
But
made it through the grapevine.
You made it. That
one
one time, barely. But yeah, that melon salsa, I've never tasted anything so hot in my entire life. And I'm thinking, oh, melon salsa, it'll be sweet, like mango salsa you get from Costco or something.
Yeah.
What a fool I was. Oh my God.
Mouth on fire.
Mouth,
All
yes.
the time.
Yes. But no, it's cool. Those little nuggets, Midnight KXLU. I remember when we did that radio gig.
Oh my goodness.
There's that little lyric
Were
in there
we there
too.
till like 4 a.m?
It seemed like it.
I
But
think we didn't even start until 2:30.
yeah, it was after midnight.
Yeah,
We're gonna let it all
a
hang out.
lot. After
Anyway, just little nuggets like that is just so much fun to sort of relive them in the lyrics to the songs on the new album.
What did I actually do? Well, honestly, not a whole lot. Unlike a regular old-fashioned, recording studio producing situation where, the producers, paying for the studio time and hiring in musicians and kind of making executive decisions on how things should be. Here's the songs that we're gonna do, or here's the ones we're gonna cut. I didn't do any of those things. What these guys needed from me, if at all, was just somebody to come in and kind of like polish things a little bit, knock off the rough edges, shore things up and make sure everything was a little bit more regimented, which is something I'm good at doing. I've been doing that for people for a long time. And just kind of make sure everything would come together and be okay. But as far as like, there was rarely a time where we were all in the room together. It did happen on a few occasions, but typically we started with their demos, which they gave me all their demos, which were pretty much completely there. Like all the ideas were on the demos before I ever saw it. And then I helped kind of with, get them to be kind of conform them to, even time and some other things like that, because they were very loose and like a little bit, cobbled together like a collage. So I kind of got that going, made sure they had drum parts that were actually, playable, because there was some MIDI drums in there. So I may have like dressed those up a little bit so that when John heard the demos for the first time, because I heard these demos before, some of the band members probably did, that they would all be parts that he could kind of understand, because John was able to and did indeed play whatever he wanted to play, but sometimes it's nice to be able to kind of point the drummer in the direction you want to go. So I made sure that what we started with was kind of what Rex and Christina were going for, because we're all very busy people, and there wasn't like they were going to have time to sit around and rehearse this stuff for months like some bands might. We just kind of had to get it down and get going. And then eventually we did have some drum days where John and Rex and Christina all showed up here, and I think it took 2 or 3 sessions where we just went through and he drummed on top of all the demos, and we got that all done. And once he was in the can, then we started, Rex and Christina at home or back at her place did a lot of their parts, and they put down new guitar, and I think we might have even used a lot of the demo piano stuff, and then a lot of the guitars got replaced or added to. They did a lot of vocal things. Then we went away and did it and went up to my cabin in the mountains and worked on vocals for about a week, and a few little guitar bits that were done. And I really thought we were done then, but of course not. No, we were not done. And then there was more guitar, and there was more vocal, and then it was like they had to track down Cliff and get all the bass on, and they had to track down Larysa over many sessions and get her parts on. And there was one day where they all came here, and we put a few extra bits of viola on some stuff, and then it was almost done. But that's kind of what I did, is I just helped them get all the pieces together, and cleaned everything up and did the mixes and made any last minute changes, did some mastering, and made a few different alternate versions for different reasons, and there it is. That's what we do.
Stephen Wilson of Plastic Soul, what was it like to produce the Armoires' 2019 album, Zibaldone?
Fun.
Could you elaborate?
Really fun. No, it's great. It's my first time ever working on somebody else's stuff, and it came out really good, and it's an amazing record, and you should buy it.
We might.
Get it on vinyl, and CD, and cassette.
Shit, now we gotta make cassettes. All right, we gotta go, Christina.
I feel like this record has a real sense of community to it.
Yeah, I think it's pushing towards that. It's subtly, with humor in a lot of cases, advocating for found family and communication, and sort of pushing against
Self-involvement.
Yeah, which is the huge problem that I'm going to say we face as a culture.
Yeah.
And I like to think we're not preachy about it, and I like to think that it comes from storytelling.
Oh, and we're inviting everyone along for the journey, so that it's all inclusive. It's not I don't feel like there's a wall there. I feel like it's for everyone to.
And it's specifically inviting because we sing together constantly, which is a little bit unusual. So just by the very nature of it, when the song starts, we open our mouths together. There's,
Ambiguous androgyny.
yeah, and you don't know which one of us is singing what, but it is community by definition.
Yeah.
And we really lean into that in the lead track, but it's there from the start to the end.
It's a we album.
That's a whole nother video, isn't
Uh-huh.
it? All right. See about the we in a minute. From Octoberland to Easter, what are we looking at here, Christina?
Well, these are Ukrainian Easter eggs. They're called pisanki, and we do them every year. There's a little stylus you fill with wax, and you cover all of the areas you want in a certain color, and then put it in another dye, and then cover that color, and then in another dye, and so on and so forth until you take all of the wax off at the end. And then your entire design is revealed.
Well, your Ukrainian heritage has always been a big part of your identity and the band's identity, and it's Larysa's heritage too. But it's kind of never been more of a focus than it is on, especially on Snake Island 13 on
Right.
this island, on this record.
On this,
We'll call it an island.
It
It's a
is an
place.
island.
Octoberland is an island now.
yes. My parents were immigrants from the Ukraine. It was called the Ukraine back then. It's now just Ukraine. And the war has been devastating. Absolutely devastating. I can't even do this without crying. But so we saw on the news the 13 soldiers that were on Snake Island and the Russian warship pulled up. And there was a standoff. The Ukrainian soldiers were very brave and basically told the Russian warship to F off. And nobody knew at the time what happened to those 13 soldiers. There were explosions in the background. We thought they were all gone and started to research Snake Island, found all of this mythology, folklore. It's Achilles' resting place. He's buried there, apparently. So much there, so much history, so much. It turns out that they are alive. All 13 soldiers made it. But we wrote the song, Snake Island 13, without knowing that. And hopefully everything will turn out the way they deserve it to turn out, which means Ukraine will be free and stay free forever. What are you looking at, Rex?
Well, this is a book. This is the collected poems of Edgar Allan Poe. It was at least leafing through this when we shot the video for Here Comes the Song. And I think it fits. The question sometimes is asked, is it power pop? And in the case of the Armoires, I think it could be asked, is it lit rock? And I kind of think yes. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing at all. Because it's, we're presenting things with a really weird and crazy sense of fun and kind of ridiculous stuff over top. But we're basing it on this level of shared storytelling. And we talk about losing your self-involvement. We talked about that as one of the themes on this record. And one of the ways we demonstrate it or try to bring people to it is by tapping into this shared storytelling tradition. So we're not shy about dropping folklore references in there. There's things pulled from everything from the Bible to Shakespeare, and we even get to the point of explicitly talking about genre tropes, things that you might see in animated shows, things like that in Ridley and Me After the Apocalypse. And that's something that brings everyone together. These references are understood. No one's concerned if Bob Dylan or like John Cale's, one of my favorite writers, does that too. what Robbie Robertson does in the band, especially that early work, where there's a lot of sort of sideways views of mythology where you get the references, but you understand it's going somewhere else. That's really rich to me, and I think we revel in bringing that to the forefront.
Is that a raven behind you?
That's a raven behind me, and this is Poe. So yeah, we also have a lot of our own themes and recurring imagery, and I'll talk about that later.